After a great while, Sir Gawaine spied a castle ahead of him abutting on the sea, and the path that he rode ran through a marshy land and over a causeway and an ancient bridge, and brought him to the portcullis of that castle, which was straightway raised to admit him. As his horse clattered into the courtyard, there came many young squires, who greeted him in friendly, eager fashion, as though he had been expected. And many more folk gathered about him, both knights and ladies, and bade him welcome, some of them saying, "Sir, we have awaited thee long," or "May the Lord bless thee, good sir, that thou hast come at last." Then was he led away to the bath, and given fair rich clothing of fine linen and silk and vair, and when he had washed and refreshed himself, and was clothed in the new apparel, he came forth into a great hall where all those people were gathered. But when they saw Sir Gawaine's face more clearly, and that it was not the face of him whom they expected, a great moaning cry arose among them, and with one accord they withdrew, vanishing behind a rash-hung doors, and out beyond the hall into the outer courtyard, until Gawaine found himself alone in an empty silence. It grieved and offended him sorely that he should be thus discourteously treated, though he minded him that he had come clothed in the armour and upon the horse of that strange knight who had been riding on this quest, and doubtless was the one expected. While he was thus pondering upon the strangeness of the whole affair, he noted that, at the far end of the hall, tapers were being lit upon a high altar-like table. Dark-robed figures lighted them, and when they had done, they departed into an inner room, whence they soon issued again, carrying a heavy couch, which they placed beside the table. Sir Gawaine drew nearer, and, by the light of the candles, he saw that a man lay upon the couch, a man incredibly old and wrinkled, his eyes sunk deep into their sockets, his scanty beard white, his face and his two hands lying gently upon the rich coverlet that was over him, as wan and pale as death itself. Yet was the man not dead, for Gawaine noted how the light breath came and went, and the fingers moved now and again, and upon the coverlet, just beneath those thin pale hands, lay a sword broken at the hilt. Anon into the silence of the hall came the noise of many feet, and all those folk who had greeted Sir Gawaine were returning, yet they looked never a one at him, but only on the old man upon the couch, and they wailed and lamented bitterly, so that the sound filled the hall, and after they had wept a while they ceased and stood silent and expectant. Then from that inner chamber whence the bed had been borne came a tall knight, clad in scarlet vesture, very rich and costly, with a crown of red gold upon his head, and he approached Gawaine and made to him gestures of greeting, yet said not a word. The eyes of all were fastened still on the doorway of that hidden room, and so complete was the silence that lay upon all that press of folk that Gawaine could hear the feeble, tremulous breathing of the old man, and the occasional sputter of the candle flames. There followed a faint stir, a little sigh that ran around the great hall among all those people, and then, out from the inner chamber came a strange procession, 6 damsels, wondrous fair in face and figure, and clad in heavy samite, scarlet and gold, and behind them a young page with fair, curling hair, and noble countenance, bearing in his hands a spear, the point held downward, and from the point ever and anon drops of blood ran down even to the hands of the lad, so that they were dyed red with it. And behind the boy, at a little distance, came a maid more beautiful than any on this earth. In white she was clad, and her long yellow hair in 2 braids fell over her shoulders to her knees, and about her brows she wore a narrow fillet of gold. Something she held aloft as she came, a vessel like a cup or shallow dish upon a golden stem. It was covered over with a thin white veil, and there shone light from within it, and about it so strong and dazzling that the eyes of Sir Gawaine could not bear to look upon it, but must close. When he had opened them again, the holy vessel was gone, and the spear and the damsels, but the air was sweet with perfumed incense, and on the table lay food for every man. Scarcely did Sir Gawaine know how he was fed, nor what manner of food it was, yet was he soon replenished and satisfied. Then did that knightly one beside Gawaine lay his hand lightly upon the knight's shoulder, and lead him out of the hall and into a small room where they two were alone. "Sir Knight," said he to Gawaine, "well I know thou art not he for whom we have waited. but it may be thou art come, directed by God, to rid our land of its great sorrow, and to make whole our maimed one. Wouldst thou know the meaning of these mysteries, and what it was that passed thee by in light and glory?" Now Gawain fain would ask about these things, and question all the strangeness of this passing strange adventure, but he had ridden for long hours without food or rest, and a bodily heaviness fell upon him which he could not overcome. Sleep like a pall folded over his mind and spirit, and even while the knight beside him spoke, his eyelids drooped, and his knees and shoulders sagged with weariness. His tongue clave to his mouth, and he answered never a word, but fell upon the ground, and slept and knew nothing. When at length he awoke, Sir Gawain found himself in a marshy meadow hard by the sea. Gone was the great grey castle in which he had beheld so much of mystery and marvel. Gone were the knightly knight and all those many people, and he was alone, clad in the armour in which he had come upon this curious quest. Beside him grazed the horse he had ridden, and the path he had followed ran back along the sea. But the land about him lay desolate, without sign of human life or any mark of cultivation, a place for sea-birds and wild creatures of the shore. Into the heart of Sir Gawain swept a sudden fierce longing. He must find again that shining thing borne in the hands of the maid in the vanished castle. He must see with 2 eyes the Holy Grail, though the search for it should take him his whole life and lead him to the ends of the world. Slowly the hands of the hermit Blaheris dropped from his lute, and the instrument slipped from his knees. His shoulders drooped, and his eyes became glazed and unseeing. The boy stirred restlessly. He seemed to have forgotten their presence, and be lost in some inner world of dream. Hugh approached him slowly, and gently touched his arm. "Master Blaheris," he said, "we thank you, Dickon and I, for that noble tale, but you have not told us the ending of it, and we are eager to hear. Did Gawain find the castle again? Was it indeed the Holy Grail that he beheld? And what happened to it?" At first they thought the old man had not heard them. He made no answer, gave no response to the touch of Hugh's hand. They looked at each other, wondering if they had best slip quietly away without disturbing him further. Then, suddenly, he turned to Hugh, reached out his arms and seized him, placing him directly before his face. He stared at him with eyes that kindled with an inner fire, held him thus and spoke to him, his voice trembling with intensity. "Who art thou, boy? But no matter, I care not what thy name or state. There is something within thy spirit. I can feel it. I can see it shining. Thou art one to whom the hidden glories may be revealed." He paused, still keeping his burning eyes on Hugh's face, his strong hand gripped on the boy's shoulders. Then, nodding his head slowly twice, he continued, "Aye, that was indeed the Holy Grail that Gawain beheld. That was the castle of Corbenic to which he went. But whether he found it again, saw once more that sacred hallow, and achieved the quest, I have forgotten. Once I knew, and sometimes those old stories that I learned in Wales came back to me, and then again they drift away in mists and shadows." He sighed and dropped his hands, and when he spoke again, it was as if he were thinking aloud, speaking to himself rather than to Hugh. "It is lost," he said, "all lost, the book of the Welsh bard, the old book that a hermit got from an angel out of paradise. In that book are all the stories written about the Saint Grail and those who sought it, and the book is lost, lost." He swayed back and forth, moaning as if in bodily pain. "And that holy thing, the chalice, gone too, but hidden, not lost. I tell you it is here in Glaston, in Avalon, hidden away from the sight of sinful man. Marked you not in the tale as I told it, a waste and desolate land, a low half-sunken causeway, and a castle by the sea?" He rose and spread his arms in a wide gesture that took in the marshland, the line of the ocean out beyond the water meadows, Tor in the distance, and the lower hills, weary all and chalice. "It is there," he repeated solemnly, "that the castle of the Corbenic reared its grey walls beside the sea, right over yonder. And the Holy Grail itself, it must be here, not lost, but hidden. Dear God, if I could but recover it, behold it with these old yearning eyes, hold it in my trembling old hands, if I could only find that hidden hollow before I die." Couldn't we help you look for it?" breathed Hugh. The old man paid no heed to him, but brushed by him and entered his hut without another word, closing the low door of it behind him.